I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Welcome to our Tuesday morning, December 3rd. I say often, it's hard to believe it's December already. Yeah, anyway, on we go. And good morning. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning. Randy Spangler, further to the left here, and she'll be taking care of us today. Morning, Brandy. Sure where Commissioner Payne is. Well, hopefully she'll be showing up here soon. We have Nico Hash and Keegan Shea, Deputy County Attorneys. Good morning, gentlemen. And Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. Good morning, Roger. There's a sign-in sheet in the front as well as agendas. Please sign in prior to leaving so we have a good record of who's attended. We'll start the day. We don't have any consent action items, Mr. Baltz. We'll start the day with the grant task order number 24-07-1-01-17-0 Amendment 1 between Lewis and Clark Public Health and Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. Whew. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Drenda Niemann. I'm the Health Officer for Lewis and Clark Public Health. And today I have before you a grant task order amendment from the Department of Public Health and Human Services. So every 3 years, the Health Department facilitates a community process that results in our Community Health Improvement Plan. And so the last Community Health Improvement Plan that was developed in our community was back in 2022. Through that process, we took the community health assessment, which is all the data that we look at to see what the status of the health is for residents who live in the county. That data is then analyzed and discussed as a community during the community health improvement planning process. So we bring stakeholders together from across the community. The last time we did this, we had 70 different stakeholders from a variety of sectors in our community that came together, looked at that data, and then developed priorities, goals, objectives, and strategies for our community. The Community Health Improvement Plan, the priorities that rose up in 2022 were chronic disease, housing, and behavioral health. So that plan then outlines what our community will do to help improve the health status of residents in our county in those specific buckets. And so we are ready to do that again. We are coming to the close of our community health assessment. It should be posted and published this month, in the month of December. Can't believe that we're in December either. So the data report will be available in December, and then starting after the first of the year, we are looking to do a similar process where we'll pull stakeholders together from across the community, look at that data, and then reassess what our priorities are and how we will address those priorities as a community, which will result in a fresh new community health improvement plan. The state gives grants to help communities do this, and so we'll have resources to hire a facilitator, rent a facility, those types of things to help us through the process of developing the new community health improvement plan. So we have an amendment from the department that extends a current task order that we have. It'll extend it out to November 30th of 2025, and they've added an additional $10,000 that will support our efforts in developing a new community health improvement plan in the spring.
Great.
And staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation. Commissioner, any questions this time?
None.
Always nice when you get a few more dollars to finish the job. It's good.
Yes, it's always nice because it is a community process. So it's great to be able to hire a facilitator, rent a facility if we need it. We can use the funds to purchase refreshments for bringing community folks together. So it's always helpful to have additional resources to make that happen.
Thank you. Okay. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. Commissioner, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the grant task order 2407 101 170 amendment number 1 between the Lewis and Clark Public Health and the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, as explained by Ms. Niemann.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the grant order as presented. Further discussion? Just again, thanks for the explanation and looking forward to the process here going forward. I would imagine that we'll probably at least have a couple of the same buckets that might rise to the top as you described them. So, but it is good. And one of the other things to mention is that you mentioned 70 different organizations or partners come together, and there's a couple of main partners as well that really jump in on this. And I think St. Peter's, View, right, and main partners, and whom else? Might as well call them out since we're here today.
Mr. Chair, the Healthy Together Task Force is made up of 5.
Okay.
So we have St. Peter's Health, View Health Center, United Way of the Lewis and Clark area, Rocky Mountain Development Council, and Lewis and Clark Public Health
Great.
make up the task force or the steering committee.
Great. And I did know that. I just didn't have it on my tongue, but thank you very
Very good.
much. All right, Commissioner, without any other comment, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. And I have to apologize because I do know where Commissioner Payne is. She's in training today. We have commissioner training today. So she's there. So that's great. I'm glad she's there. Next item on the agenda is contract between Lewis and Clark County and Bullock Contracting LLC. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe. My name is Jessica Makus, Special Districts Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Before you this morning is a contract with Bullock Contracting LLC to correct and repair gravel road surface within the Fieldcross-Scratchgravel Rural Improvement District. The scope of this contract includes preparing, supplying, hauling, placing, watering, grading, and compacting 1,667 cubic yards of road mix on Hannah Lane from Green Meadow Drive to Scratchgravel Drive, and on Scratchgravel Drive from Hannah Lane to Fieldcross Lane, and on Fieldcross Lane from Scratchgravel Drive to Green Meadow Drive. This contract was procured through a limited solicitation, and Bullock Contracting LLC provided the lowest quoted cost. Contract compensation is based on the unit price of $24 per cubic yard for an estimated total of 1,667 cubic yards of crushed surfacing. The funding for this project will come from an intercap loan from the Montana Board of Investments approved by the Commission to fund improvements in the Rural Improvement District. The loan will be repaid through a 15-year debt assessment of $277 per property per year. Additional improvements for this district include pavement on the transition aprons and then drainage remediation, which will be completed separately from the contract before you today. The gravel component of the loan was budgeted at approximately $70,000, and it is anticipated that this portion of the project will come in under budget. Staff recommend approval of the contract with Bullock Contracting LLC in the amount of $40,008.00 and authorize the chair to sign all applicable contract documents. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thanks for the explanation. Any questions?
And this, if I might, Mr. Chair, this is just the next step in the process that we've been through, where we've established it, and now we're getting we established the Rural Improvement District, and we're now getting it all finished up.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, thank you. Yes, so this district was initiated by the citizens that live in this area. This district was created I believe in October. It was levied and assessed last month. We also applied for the intercap loan at that time. That loan was approved, and we moved forward with a limited solicitation to start the work in this area. It's too late in the year to do the asphalt transitions onto Green Meadow. The asphalt, it's just too late in the year to do asphalt work. But we can do the gravel work, provided that the weather holds out. So the way this contract will be set up is that the contractor can find a window of time from now through, I believe, April. Can find a week to do this work. Right now, the weather looks good, so we'll just see when this contractor can squeeze this work in and shape up those roads for these folks.
All right,
All
thank you.
right, great. Thank you very much. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please, Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Bullock Contracting LLC as explained by Ms. Makus.
Second, moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much. On to the next item, which is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and Steiner Thusen. Is that, did I say that right? Thusen PLLC.
Mr.
morning.
Chair, Commissioners, yes, that is the correct way to pronounce that.
Right. Get
See.
one right once in a while.
Yeah. Right. In August of 2024, oh, sorry, for the record, Dan Carlin, County Engineer. In August of 2024, a request for proposals was advertised for a consultant to develop a master plan to expand the landscaped area of Forestville Cemetery. Project will consist of planning and designing approximately 30 acres south and west of the existing cemetery. Before you today is the contract with Steiner Thusen to complete the expansion master plan. The scope of work includes general project management, site survey, stakeholder meetings, drainage assessment and recommendations, water availability analysis, development of conceptual layouts, final master plan development, cost estimates, and recommendations for phasing of construction and implementation. Scope of work will be completed by January 2nd, 2027, and Steiner Thusen will be paid time and materials for a total contract amount not to exceed $79,277. Staff recommends approval of the professional services contract with Steiner Thusen for an amount not to exceed $79,277 and authorize the chair to sign. I can answer questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Any questions this time?
If I might, Mr. Chair, could we talk a little bit about the length of time that this is anticipated taking?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So in their proposal, they did outline a timeline, which was much shorter than 2 years, and we expect it to actually be much shorter than 2 years. However, when we complete a contract, we need to ensure that the contract end date allows for us to do all the closeout documentation. So we do anticipate the actual work and deliverables being done in calendar year 25. So the additional year is, if we run into any snags or we choose to add an amendment to do a construction packet design within there, we have some time to do that. Again, it shouldn't take 2 years, it should take less than a year, but it's winter now, so we have to, survey, do some looking during the spring, things of that nature that are just weather dependent as well. So that's the reasoning behind the time.
If I might follow up, I think if somebody just listening on TV might ask, gosh, $80,000 is a lot of money for planning. Could you maybe tell us go into a little more detail about what all is involved there?
Sure, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe. So survey, I'll start with that. There's a site survey involved in this. It's 30 acres. That particular element won't be real difficult to accomplish, but it does take time. So if you figure surveying rates, you're probably $2,000 a day just to be there. And then once they get done with that survey, they have to put it into their computer programs, which also takes additional time at similar rates. So just the survey portion of this is going to be a little over $10,000 in all likelihood. They also have a lot of water analysis to do. We've got multiple wells out there that provide a certain amount of water volume that they're allowed to use per, their water rate. We know that ground takes water to irrigate, so there's going to be some investigation into, do we need to develop another well? Is the water available to us now for the current water rights adequate to service the new area in addition to the existing 26 acres? That takes a lot of time, that takes legal analysis, that takes attorneys, things of that nature that this consultant will be working through. They also will be looking at irrigation systems. How do we tie into them? How do we extend them? How do we make them more efficient? Can we make the existing systems more efficient to coincide with the new system that's going to be installed with this? All of that goes into play. There's also meetings. We're going to be doing several meetings with stakeholders to make sure that this master plan kind of meets the vision of what Forestvale and the Historic Preservation Committee would like to see. So that takes time. All the things that take time cost money. So that's a big piece of it. There's road design involved in this, as you can see on the exhibit here. The existing road network is elaborate. I'll call it that. So in order to keep that character, there's going to be some interesting road design built into this as well. So all of that drafting time is extensive as well. So really, it really comes down to this as a very time intensive and hands-on intensive effort. And all of that costs a lot of money. What I will say is the Forestvale budget, they planned for this, they've been planning for this, and they had set aside almost this exact amount. So our forecasting matched up quite nicely with what we anticipated and what eventually came to us in a scope and fee.
And one more follow-up. This is a company that I don't recall working with since I've been here. Are they kind of specialized in working on cemeteries and that sort of thing?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, yes. So we had several proposals. Two of the firms that we had do specialize in landscape architecture focused solely on cemeteries and golf courses, actually. So this firm works extensively with the Department of Defense on their military cemeteries, Veterans Association cemeteries and things of that nature, as well as private cemeteries, as well as municipal cemeteries. So they are very well qualified for this type of work.
Thank you.
Well, to pile on, I'm assuming that the contractor will also look at existing encumbrances on the property, for example, our master flood plan as well, and how that might work with this master plan, if you will. All of those kinds of things, ingress, egress, how to best get people in and out of this area, all of that. So I'm assuming that's all part of the scope as well.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that's absolutely right. One of the questions they asked when we were going through the scoping phase of this is how much do we need to interface with the planning department, things of that nature, additional permitting, additional agencies, reviews, things of that nature too. So definitely they were on the ball on asking the right questions. And obviously I work a little bit with the floodplain stuff and the floodplain master plan. So yes, definitely contemplated.
Good, thanks. Any other questions? Okay, how about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please, Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Steiner Thusen LLC as explained by Mr. Carlin.
Second, moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion? Thanks, Dan. Looking forward to the final or the plan. I guess it'll be an initial plan. Probably a lot more detail after this initial phase.
I would like to just comment. I just really appreciate the thoroughness that you deal with this sort of thing and for us. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a grant award between Lewis, Clark County and Montana Department of Transportation. Mr. Carlin.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Dan Carlin, County Engineer. Before you today is an award from the Montana Department of Transportation, or MDT of SB 536 discretionary grant funds. Senate Bill 536. In October, 2 applications were submitted for SB 536 discretionary grant funds that were available on a first-come, first-served basis for quick fix repairs. The first submission was for repairs to the Craig River Bridge abutments. The second submission was for funds to replace the Nelson Road Beaver Creek Bridge superstructure. MDT has selected both projects as a single award. This grant, if accepted by the Board of County Commissioners, will provide $150,000 for the Craig River Bridge project and $105,000 for the Nelson Road Beaver Creek Bridge project. There is no required match. This grant funding was not anticipated when preparing the FY25 budget and will be addressed in a budget amendment. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve the SB 536 grant award from MDT for $255,000 and that the board members sign the grant agreement. And I do have some project location maps here for you.
Please.
This first one that you can see on your screen is for the Nelson Road Beaver Creek Bridge. As you can see, it comes to a Y here. This is the area of Nelson, cribbage capital of the world there. Beaver Creek Road goes down to Hauser Lake. Sorry, is that Hauser? I think it's Holter at that point. Yeah, it goes down to Holter Lake as well as a subdivision at the end of that. So this is primary and sole access to that subdivision and several properties in there. The Craig River Bridge is a very large structure. It's actually our longest span bridge that we have in our inventory. It's right in Craig on Bridge Street. You can see here right off the interstate. So this one is to repair the abutments and the expansion joint detail of that. A question we also had at the prior presentation of the grant application was I discussed double T's. Here is a double T beam. This is the configuration of that. And if I don't have a way to draw on here, but you can see down on the bottom, this is what I was talking about where the concrete was popping off. So structurally, when we lose our material and our reinforcing down there, that's where our structural strength is actually coming from. So it's definitely a situation we need to address. And if you have any questions, I can.
Commissioner, questions at
those
this
now.
time? So Dan, just to understand, make sure that folks that are watching today can understand this. Senate Bill 536 is that quick response, those quick response dollars for in this case, a bridge that is it needs to be repaired ASAP so that we can keep it open and keep it functional. It isn't bridge replacement money. This is repair dollars. And can you just explain it a little bit for those that might be watching?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So the SB 536 was about $100 million in total. They had allocated it in separate buckets. They put $20 million in for a existing grant match bucket, which we were successful on for the Head Lane Bridge. And then they also did $20 million in this quick fix repairs bucket.
Okay, that's what we're going after.
That
was what I was talking about. So the other dollars that you can chase are for potential replacement or to add to the mix of dollars that you would use for replacement, like we did on Head Lane.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that, and you're clarifying that for the others that might be watching. Anything else, Commissioner, on this one? Okay, great. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Public comment. Okay, Commissioner, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the grant award between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Department of Transportation as explained by Mr. Carlin.
Second, moved and seconded to approve the grant award as presented. Further discussion, Commissioner. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate bringing this forward. Looking forward to those repairs as soon as possible. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is an agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Montana Internet Corporation. Mr. Thomas, good morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, morning, James Thomas, City of Helena and Lewis and Clark County IT Director. Before you this morning is a non-exclusive right to use agreement for sharing conduit space. This is between Lewis and Clark County and Montana Internet Corporation, known as MIC. This agreement allows MIC to install their own privately owned fiber optic cable inside existing conduits that are already buried in the ground. For the use of the conduit space, MIC is offering to both upgrade the connection the county and the city use for our internet service. We use microwave technology today. They're offering to upgrade that to fiber optic. Can be a little more reliable and a little, and seen as a little bit faster. They've also agreed to or offered to waive all costs for the internet service for the life of the agreement. I'd like to add the life of the agreement is a 10-year agreement to start out with, 5 years, and we'll review it for another 5 years. Both the city and the county legal teams have reviewed this agreement as well as county procurement. The staff recommends approval of the non-exclusive right to use for the agreement. Authorize the chair to sign. I also did bring my visual aid just to make sure we all can at least see how big the fiber optic cable is. So this is a 12-strand fiber optic cable. And yeah, it's kind of fun. You put light on one end and you can see a little teeny light on the other end. But anyway, this would be going inside a 2-inch diameter conduit. So there's quite a bit of space for additional either companies, if there are other companies that like to use it, or if the city county, this organization, needs to expand in the future. So I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Questions?
Just maybe if you give us a little bit more information on exactly where we're talking about the cable for the public's knowledge.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, the conduits that MIC is interested in run between this building, City County Building, and the Civic Center, and then also between the City County Building and basically the county courthouse. Right there at the courthouse and jail, there is a junction box, basically a manhole that all the conduits run to.
And this allows them to use that for private purposes, but it keeps from having to have them dig up the streets in order to get it done.
Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, that is correct. There would be very little construction costs in this case. They don't have to dig. They would just have to basically thread their fiber optic cable through our conduits.
And for that, we will get basically free service from them. Is that right?
Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, that is correct. It comes out to roughly about $10,000 per year savings, particularly to the IT budget, but that gets passed on to the organization.
Great. Thank you.
Good questions. I was going to ask some of the same. So thank you, Mr. Thomas. I think I understand it and appreciate it very much. This is good. It's a good deal both ways, I think. All right. Anything else, Commissioner? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Internet Corporation as explained by Mr. Thomas.
Second, moved and second to approve the agreement as presented. Further discussion, Commissioner? As I said, thank you. And any way we can find savings for the local taxpayer, partner with private-public partnerships and get this stuff done, as well as improve our connectivity, if you will, or our product. That's great. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. You're at that time in the meeting where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing no public come forward, Commissioner, thank you for a good meeting. We will stand adjourned.